was my cry, give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You can have all this world, but give me Jesus. In the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, give me Jesus. It was my cry, at dark midnight was my cry, give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You can have all this world, but give me Jesus.
And good, bright, and beautiful morning, everybody. My name is Kimberly Mann, and we are back from our summer vacation, although not so much of a summer vacation as it turns out. I decided to do a live today, partly because when I got up this morning to tape this morning's episode, ran into a whole lot of technical difficulties. So bear with me, and hopefully doing this as a live show will work just fine. But I wanted to make sure we had something out here for you at 7 a.m. on time. So if you've missed me for the last couple of weeks, we got a lot of catching up to do. But today, most importantly, we're catching up with God's Word. We are in Genesis chapter 36, and we are going to talk about Esau's family tree. You know, all we talk about most of the time in the Bible is Jacob's family tree because we talk about the children of Israel. But God didn't completely forget Esau, and he didn't completely forget his family. And he did actually eventually kind of did give him some blessings, even though he wasn't of the chosen people. However, let's take a look at this. Let's dive into God's Word, and we'll be right back after this.
You can have all this world, but give me Jesus. In the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, give me Jesus.
And if you do find any value in my content, do me a favor, click like, subscribe, and I don't know why that's not turning on, so let's turn that on manually. I told you we're having lots of technical difficulties this morning. It's going to go crazy. Let's see if I think that's the right, nope, that's not the right one. Let's see if it comes on that way. Not exactly in the right place. Let's try this one more time. Let's see, did I move it to here? Nope, nothing there. Did I move it to there? You know what? We're going to be happy with it there. Or maybe, I don't even know. It's like I came back on this morning and all of my presets have moved around into places they're not supposed to be. Like everything's just completely haywire. Let's try it this way and see if this works. Not exactly. All right, one more time. There we go. Finally. All right. Well, if you do find any value in the content, obviously not in the production quality this morning. I have no idea. It's like all of my stuff was zoomed in crazy. All of my cameras were zoomed. It's like everything. All my settings were off. This is what happens when you take 2 weeks away from God's Word delivered it to people, right? You come back and have to start all over again. You may have noticed as well that we have some new music. That was one of the things that went wrong this morning, is that our old slides would not play the music anymore, and I don't know why, because that music is still available on Canva for me to use, but just didn't want to play on our slides, so we switched out the music on everything this morning, and it does kind of have a calmer, more chill, relaxed atmosphere for this morning. So, and since we are doing this at early mornings at 7 o'clock every morning, it does seem like, yeah, this might actually be a good fit as far as that goes. But for now, we're going to leave the music as it is, as long as that works, and we'll move on from there. But I do appreciate you being here this morning. And let's see here. All right, let's see if we can do that. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a crazy wild morning as far as tech goes. All right, so we got that camera. And we got that camera. So at least we know we got two cameras that are kind of sort of working. Let's try something else and see if this goes crazy or not. Let's see. Let's go like this. See if this works. That doesn't work either. All right. Awesome. It's all fun and games today. Okay. Let's see here. So we need camera 1 and camera 3. Let's switch this out. Yeah, this is so not right. Because I don't want to do this completely manually. Me. All right. You know what? We're just going to do this really simple today. And we'll just switch back and forth a lot. And let's see here. Okay, and we'll do this one. Sorry about this, guys. Whoops. Okay. All right, let's see how this works. See if this works okay. Hopefully this goes on. Today we are in Genesis 36. Genesis 36. And we are talking about Esau's family tree. And yeah, I mean, we're doing the entire chapter, which is all of 43 verses, all in one hit this morning. So that's quite a bit. And we may have to go live tomorrow because I've got a really busy week today as well. So just keep your eyes out for whatever it is, whichever format we're going to go with. But I will have something here at 7 o'clock every morning, whether it's a live or whether it's a pre-recorded. The next chapter, I will be here. So absolutely. We are going to actually skip Wisdom and Worship Wednesday this week, in that we are going to not do a Wisdom and Worship Wednesday. We're going to actually just do Genesis, and we're going to continue on through Genesis this entire week to kind of catch ourselves up after being off of work for a week or so here. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's get this passage read, and let's start in Genesis 36. Now, hopefully me talking and trying to work out some of these technical bugs has given you an opportunity to grab your own notebook, or grab your notebook actually, because we're going to this camera now. Grab your notebook, grab your Bible. Hopefully you've been able to grab those while I've been talking, and get ready for God's word this morning, because here we are. And hopefully you've turned it. The nice thing about being in Genesis for us right now is that it is very easy and very, like, it's right at the beginning of the Bible. So it's Genesis, then it's chapter 36. So very easy to get to it. So if you remember when we left off with quite a few things happening. Jacob returned to his father's home. Rachel gives birth to Benjamin and then passes away in childbirth. Talks about Jacob's sons, and then Isaac, his father, dies. What's interesting is we don't have any record of Rebekah's death. We do know, however, that Rebekah was already passed at this point, because we don't actually have a record of her passing at any later time. So one of the significant things that we didn't point out when we were talking about it, because I didn't want to do spoiler alerts, but Rebekah, when Jacob fled from Esau for his life, he left his mother, who adored him and doted on him and protected him and was there for him. And one of the consequences of his poor actions was that he never saw his mother again. which is a little bit sad. But it's also a consequence of her poor actions, her deceiving. So it was a consequence for both of them to never see each other again at that point. Rebecca never got to see Rachel or Leah. Rebecca never got to see any of the grandkids. Rebecca never got to see Jacob and Esau reunite. That might have been just as important to her as anything else. Isaac did, but Rebecca did not. So today we are in Genesis 36. Let's pick it up and let's read. Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Bashemah, Ishmael's daughter, son of Nebajoth. And Adah bare to Jacob Eliphaz, and Bashemah bare Reuel. And Oholibamah bare Jeush, and Jalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan. And Esau took his wives, and his sons, and his daughters, and all the persons of his house, and his cattle, and all his beasts, and all his substance, which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. For their riches were more than they might dwell together, and the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites, in Mount Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau; Reuel, the son of Bashemah, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Reuel, Nahath, and Zerah, and Shammah, and Mizah. These were the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Oholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And she bare to Esau Jeush, and Jalam, and Korah. These were dukes of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau: Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, Duke Kenaz, Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, and Duke Amalek. And these are the dukes that came out of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adah. And these are the sons of Reuel, Esau's son: Duke Nahath, Duke Zerah, Duke Shamath, Duke Mizah. These are the dukes that came out of Reuel in the land of Edom. And these are the sons of Bashemath, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Oholibamah, Esau's wife: Duke Jeush, Duke Jalam, Duke Korah. These were the dukes that came out of Oholibamah, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau, who is Edom, and these are their dukes. And these are the sons of Seir, the Horite, who inhabited the land: Lotan, and Shobal, and Zibeon, and Anah, and Dishon, and Ezer, and Dishon. So it's Dishon and Dishan. These are the dukes of the Horites, the children of Seir in the land of Edom. And the children of Lotan were Hori and Hemma, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. And the children of Shobal were those Alvin, Manasseh, Ebal, Shepo, and Onim. And these are the children of Zibeon, both Ajah and Anah. This was that Anah that found the mules in the wilderness, as he fed the asses of Zibeon his father. And the children of Anah were these: Dishon and Oholibamah, the daughter of Anah. And these are the children of Dishon: Hemdan, and Ashban, and Ithran, and Cheran. The children of Ezer are these: Bilhan, Zahan, and Achan. The children of Dishan are these: Uz and Aran. These are the dukes that came out of the Horites: Duke Latan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibeon, Duke Anah, Duke Dishan, Duke Ezer, Duke Dishan. These are the dukes that came of Hori, among their dukes in the land of Seir. And these are the kings that reigned in the land of Edom, before there reigned any king over the children of Israel. And Bela, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinhabab. And Bela died, and Jobab, the son of Zerah of Basra, reigned in his stead. And Jobab died. And Husham of the land of Temani reigned in his stead. And Husham died. And Hadad, the son of Bedad, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Avith. And Hadad died, and Samlah of Maskareth reigned in his stead. And Samlah died, and Saul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his stead. And Saul died, and Baal Hanan, the son of Achbor, reigned in his stead. And Baal Hanan, the son of Achbor, died, and Hadar reigned in his stead. And the name of his city was Pau, and his wife's name was Hetabel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezabheb. And these are the names of the dukes that came of Esau, according to their families, after their places, by their names: Duke Timnah, Duke Alva, Duke Jereth, Duke Ahalamabah, Duke Elah, Duke Pinon, Duke Kenaz, Duke Teman, Duke Mibzar, Duke Madagiel, Duke Eram. These be the dukes of Edom, according to their habitations in the land of their possession. He is Esau, the father of the Edomites. Now, whoa, you might say, wow, that is a lot of names. And so confusing because we have Dishon and Dishan. So we have O-N ending and A-N ending. So many different kids and grandkids, and that's what we have to pay attention to. But I think we want to highlight a couple of things from this chapter. And it's really not going to be a verse-by-verse breakdown today. It's actually going to be more of a, let's take some concepts from this chapter and talk about what some of these things mean. So concept number one we need to remember is that God, at the very beginning of this, God increased both Jacob and Esau. Okay? So God increased both Jacob and Esau. So much so we see right here in verse 6, I think it is. Nope, verse 7. For their riches were more than that they might dwell together, and the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. They had so many cattle, there wasn't even room. They're like, we're not even, like, Canaan was not even their space, so to speak. Canaan was not even where they were supposed to be, in that they had not taken possession of the land of Canaan as the nation of Israel at that point. And yet they are already multiplying their cattle so much that it's like, yeah, we're already taking over in a way. It's already all of this. And so, so the first thing we know is that God increased both Jacob and Esau and gave them abundance. So a lot of times people, because of the conflict between Jacob and Esau, people oftentimes think, oh, well, God blessed Jacob and he didn't bless Esau or whatever. He didn't give anything. But that's not actually true. Well, Esau did not get the promised lineage blessing of God. It is very clear from this passage that Esau, even with all of his problems, with all of his foibles, with all of his mistakes that he made. Because if you remember, what are the mistakes that Esau made? Esau made the mistake of marrying two Canaanite women, who just made his parents' life a misery. These two women made him a misery. And in fact, when Jacob was sent away to go marry a wife of the family, so to speak, sent back to Haran, where he eventually, of course, married Rachel and Leah, Esau went, oh, I see. The reason I didn't get the blessing is because I didn't marry the right women. That's the problem. That's the reason. And what did he do? He goes off and he finds one of Ishmael's daughters and he marries them. He's like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll go to family. I'm not going to go to family like Laban and the original family of Abraham, but Ishmael, he's still family. He's like our cousin. So, I mean, Ishmael's my uncle. So his daughter is or granddaughter, I think it was his cousin, but, cousins removed. And obviously, even in Jacob's case, Rachel and Leah were his cousins as well. But And by the way, the reason that we don't marry cousins nowadays is not anything, it's to do with the law, but the reason for the law has more to do with what we have seen as the genetic code breakdown. And what it does is it creates a lot of birth defects and things of that nature. But at the time, marrying your cousin was actually not only normal, it was and common, it was actually encouraged to keep wealth within families. So keep the families kind of compacted and keep the wealth and the land and everything in families. So marrying cousins, first and second cousins, was not unheard of. Not so much sisters, although Abraham did, but not by the time we get to Jacob, which is, a good 100 years later, we are seeing a shift in who people marry. We're not marrying like nieces, nephews, and very close, because we now have a broader spectrum for them to be able to marry and be able to spread out the gene pool and avoid some of those birth defects, right? So Esau, though, goes off and he marries one, oh, that a little bit of sidetrack there, but Esau goes off and he marries one of Ishmael's daughters. He goes, I know I saw this. So first, Esau makes the mistake of marrying 2 Canaanite women. Then he makes the mistake of marrying Ishmael's. And it's like, oh, he just keeps making a mess of things. Gets angry about ready to kill Jacob. Jacob has to flee from his face in order to stay alive. But what happens eventually? Well, eventually what happens is they make up. 20 plus years later, when Jacob comes back, Esau greets him. He says, my soul misses you. Jacob says, my soul misses you. I'm so sorry. We should never have, what happened shouldn't have happened in the way it happened. Even though I am the one who's supposed to get the blessing, it seems. And even though God is doing this for me, God has obviously blessed me and he's made me prosperous. Jacob comes back with a much better attitude than when he leaves. He comes back with a humbled attitude after having wrestled with God. And he says to Esau, that's fine. And by the time we see them in chapter 36 here, what we see is that they are living in Canaan, both of them, over by Bethel. But that land, there's not enough land for them to live together. So what happens? Well, let's look at this and let's see where they actually are living. Let's pull up. Oh, what? Okay. Well, I was going to do that, but I guess we're going to have to find the map. Let's see here. Wait, we don't want a video. We want photos or images. There we go. Images. All right, here we go. Here's Jacob's Travels map. Let's put this map up and zoom in as we've been doing. All right, so we'll move this map around a little bit as we use it. Okay, so as you can see, I actually like this the way it's come up here. So let's see here. Let's see if I can make this a little bit more obvious for you. You can see Luz here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more on that. So you can see that's as much as I can zoom in, unfortunately. But you can see right there. You can see Bethel or Luz, which is Bethel. This is where they are. They are in this section here. They are in Bethel, right up here in this section at Bethel. And they go, you know what? We have too much stuff. So what happens? Esau comes to here. And Esau ends up crosses over the River Jordan and goes back down here, most likely. Now, there's always the possibility that he took a different route, because this is Seir, or Edom, is the whole of this south of the Beersheba wilderness. So in a way, he's kind of going back in between. If you remember, Ishmael is living south of here as well, in modern day Yemen. What we would call Yemen today, that is where Ishmael settled. And so it's possible that Esau went from Luz here and went down the Dead Sea through the Beersheba wilderness and over to the east of the Dead Sea. All right. So it's possible that he went east that way, or possibly, going back up and crossing where Jacob did up here, where he met him in Peniel. But what we do know is that he went from Bethel and he went back to Edom, or Seir, as it's referred to in different places. All right. So we know this is where he is. And yeah. So anyway, so that's where he's gone to. So God increased both Jacob and Esau and gave them both abundance. That's thing number one. All right. God also increased Esau's children. Now we know about the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. But if you look at the dukes for Esau, we have at the very end of the chapter, at verse 40, we have Timnah, Alva, Jeth, Ahalamabat, Ella, Pinon, Kenaz, Teman, Mizbar, Duke Madgiel, Imran, and Mibzar. So we actually have 12, just like Jacob. And who do we have here? Let's write them all down here. Let's see here. We've got Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Jetheth, Ahalabama, which, by the way, is the name of one of his. It's the name of one of his wives. So this was obviously one of those names. It could be Aholibama. Then we've got Elha, or Ella, Pinon, Pinon, Kenaz, Teman, nope. I keep wanting to do Miz instead of Mib. So the next one here is Mibzar, and I keep wanting to spell it. Okay, Mibzar. Magdiel. Iram. All right, so we've got, let me make sure I've got this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I feel like there were 12. I missed one, I think. Because he said there were 12 originally. Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Ahabama, Elah, Pinon, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, Imram. All right, so I guess it was only 11. All right, so we know that the dukes that reigned were 11, very similar to Jacob, though. I mean, we're not taking much away from him by saying he had 11, Jacob had 12. Big deal. That's really not much of a difference. The other thing that we need to notice here as well is that the kingship of Edom, because this is what, if you notice, it says Esau is the father of the Edomites. So the whole thing is that Esau is actually the nation of Edom, and what became known as the Edomites. They are the descendants of Esau. And what we also know happened is that there were times in history where the Edomites fought against the Israelites, and there were times when the Edomites fought with the Israelites. There is some historical evidence that seemed to indicate that the Edomites were instrumental in when God judged Israel and sent them into captivity to Babylon, but the Edomites were part of helping Babylon with that, helping Babylon capture them. However, there is also some historical context that says it's a very good chance that during the Maccabean period, which is just prior to Christ, during the Maccabean revolt, that the Edomites then assimilated into, and there's some controversy as to whether it was a forcible assimilation or whether it was a choice of assimilation. Because keep in mind, the Edomites are from the same, they're still from Abraham's tribe. They're still of the same genetic code as the Israelites at that point. Their genetic code is still extremely similar, and it seems that the two nations melded into one another, but Israel keeping its name. And there's a lot of questions as to who are the Edomites within Israel, because it seems that they definitely merged into the Israelites in the first century, or prior to the first century. So we do know that during the Maccabean era, the Edomites assimilated into Israel and into Judaism. Not just into Israel, but into Judaism itself, and joined with Israel as if they were one. And they just kind of melded, and they just, as a result, they kind of disappeared, in that we do not have any modern separate Edomites to this day. There is no tribe. It's not like Ishmael. Ishmael's children and Ishmael's tribes, they are your modern day Arabian princes, etc., etc. But the Edomites, different. They melded into Judaism in the first century. Like we said, we don't know if it was forcible or if it was voluntary. At this point, doesn't really matter. They melded. All right, so the kingship of Edom, though, did not transfer from father to son. Because you'll notice where it says here, and in verse 33, the reason we know this is because we say, and Bela died, and Jobab, the son of Zerah of Basra, reigned in his stead. And then Joab died, and Husham of the land of Temani reigned in his stead. It's like these kings are not being appointed. It's a different type of kingship. Most nations, when they have a kingship over them, like the kings of England or the kings of Denmark, princes of Denmark, things of that nature, or they normally, kingship follows down through the lineage ancestrally. And it's the son or the daughter that takes over the king, or this nowadays the queenship. So it feels very much different that the Edomites didn't do that. The Edomites just said, nope. Seems to be whoever, because it's not that it's being taken over because of war. It's almost like they're being appointed, or they are stepping up to fill that role. Because the king dies, it doesn't say that he died horribly in battle. It doesn't say he was conquered by the other king. No. It's not any of those types of kingships where the different cities were battling each other. No, it's almost like this very democratic type system in a way. We don't know that they had a vote or anything like that, or that they cast ballots. This is all that part is all conjecture on my part. This is not what the Bible says. But the Bible does make it clear that the kingship passed to somebody who wasn't the son of him. And knowing that all of these different kingships probably just passed from whoever was the strongest leader at the time. And honestly, that makes sense. I'm very pro our democratic system in the United States. However, and we don't have kings that pass on legacies. That's obvious. But there is something really great about if the same person, Franklin Delano Roosevelt served 4 terms as president, and then they term limited after him. I actually wish that the president wasn't necessarily term limited, because I do think there's something beneficial in having a stable, or if he was term limited down to, 4 or 5 terms, gives them 10 to 15 to 20 years to really see what they can do, no matter who it is. And that would have proven true for any of them. No, they wouldn't have to, but they could, is the idea. I think that would be really good. I think it would have benefited when Obama was president to see out what he was doing or not doing. I think it would have benefited with Trump or Biden or Clinton or any of, it doesn't matter to me, any of the modern presidents. I just think it's kind of would be good for us to see them out a little bit. That's a little bit controversial, but it looks right here like the kingship of Edom was more based on who was the best leader, and he stayed in leadership until he passed, and then they had another king step up. Now, it does not tell us here if they were elected, if they were chosen, or if they just assumed the mantle and stepped up into that position. It seems like it was smooth transition, though. It does not seem like there was any battle over who was going to be the next leader. So maybe it's just a very unique system. But what we do know is that the kingship of Edom did not transfer from father to son. It transferred to the next strongest leader. All right. And let's see here. What else do we want to take away from this? I think the biggest thing that I would really like us to take away from this is the fact that there's also a couple of people mentioned, and we don't actually know anything about them because we don't have other records written down. We do not know who some of these specialty people are. But there were. So the last thing here is some of them were exceptional. And we say this, whoop, that was interesting. Let's try rewriting that. Were exceptional. And how do we know this? It says, well, a son of Badad who smote Midian in the field of Moab reigned in his stead. Midian is not part of the Edomites. And it says, so Hadad, the son of Badad, who smote Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his stead. And then Hadad died, and Samlah, and then Samlah died, and Saul of Reboth by the river reigned in his stead. Saul died, and Baal-Hanan, the son of Ad, died, and Hadar reigned in his stead, and the name of his city was Pau. But here's an interesting one. This is the only woman, there's only two women besides the wives mentioned in this chapter. And one of them is Mehetabel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. We don't know why her name is mentioned. We have no idea. Like, why? We don't know. And even here, there's a concubine in verse 12. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. Why is that interesting? Well, possibly because the Amalekites, we're going to see them show up later on. Because unfortunately, the Amalekites, they do become a very, very wicked group of people. So the Amalekites are going to show up. So that's the only reason we can think of that is mentioned, is because the Amalekites come from Amalek. That's on there. Anyway, so some of them were exceptional. And we have Timnah. She's mentioned. We have Hadad. And we have Mehetabel. And we don't know exactly why they were exceptional, but they were clearly exceptional because it was like, well, he's the one who smote Midian in Moab. Remember? It's like, oh yeah, we know who that is. Now remember, this is Moses writing down Genesis, which means the children of Israel would have known who this was. Right? They would have known who this was. So that's very, very interesting that we have that. So what can we take away from this? Well, partly we can take away from this that Esau was not the blessed son, but God blessed him anyway. And that's the thing, is that we don't have to wait for God's blessing to be of an official capacity. God can and will bless everyone who wishes to follow him, because Esau changed who he was. Esau had the right to kill Jacob when he met him, but Esau didn't. Esau greeted Jacob with grace and mercy. And when he greeted him with grace and mercy, it allowed him to have that. And he greeted him with grace and mercy. He did not kill Jacob. He forgave Jacob for what he's. Esau clearly was a different man than when Jacob left. Jacob was a different man when he met Esau. He humbled himself before Esau. And as a result, God blessed Esau as well as Jacob. So that's the thing we need to take away from this a bit, is that God blesses both of us, or both of them, just in different ways. Did the promise of the Messiah come through Esau? No, the promise of the Messiah did not come through Esau. But did Esau have blessing? Yes, his family was multiplied. His kings reigned for centuries in Edom, just north of, like we said, modern day Yemen. And his kings reigned for centuries. His people were strong. They were blessed as long as they followed God. And that's the key. Anyway, hopefully this is helping you. This is a very interesting chapter. It's kind of a sideline, almost like an aside in a play where all of a sudden the actor goes aside and he just has his own little monologue. It's kind of what this chapter is. This chapter is only like a little bit of a monologue, because now we're going to step into this week. We're going to step into back into Jacob, and this is pretty much going to be it for Esau. We're not really going to talk about Esau much anymore, because now we're moving on to Jacob and his children starting tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and we will be back, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Hopefully we'll have all these technical glitches worked out as well, and have everything like it should be. But thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it, and you have yourself a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Was my